Welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning meets reality.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine world. And man, it has been a busy news cycle for the last couple of days, and especially here in California, where we have some fires burning. And for those men and women that are out there at the front line, I hope everybody stays safe and really, it's terrible, some of the stuff that's happening. Hopefully, I'm not getting too, I'm just getting too wrapped up in that right now. So anyway, today we're here. My name's Todd DeVoe. I'm the Director of Emergency Management at Titan HST, and we're here to talk about design and systems design. So yeah, let's get into it. So one of the things I've noticed is that Steve Jobs, I've been reading his book again, and it really motivated me to really start thinking about design and design thinking again, and what that really means into systems. And as business continuity and emergency management professionals, we have to think about this and designing your programs that are going to have a good end user experience, right? And that's what the issue is here, right? We need to have a good user experience at the end of the day, because otherwise people aren't going to use it. So we see people that write these plans that are gigantic. They put them in binders and they go on the back of in the back of the bookshelf there, and no one opens them. And do they use them during crisis events? And that's the question, right? And I've seen people during crisis not even open up their emergency operations plan, which was terrible, because they're unuseful, they're unusable, they're just in this binder. So what do? Right? We have to start thinking about different ways that we can actually create plans and processes that users want to use. And that starts with design. And realistically, when I start thinking about the design that Steve Jobs put into an iPhone, right? It wasn't just the phone, right? That's part of it. There are other phones that are already out there, right? BlackBerry, it was leading the market. It was very useful. The little keyboard on it. I'm sorry if there's noise in the background. Sorry about that. So there's the keyboard was useful, I suppose. But at the end of the day, why did Apple beat BlackBerry? Because the user experience, right? The screen that was on there, the GUI, if you will, they call it, right? That part was usable, and it was easy to use, intuitive, and so much so that you could give an iPad to a toddler and they could figure it out, right? So that's the concept of that end user experience that we're looking at, and how do we parlay that into business continuity? And so the challenge is, the challenge is innovation. So to be successful, an innovation process must deliver three things: superior solutions, you're going to lower the risks, and you're going to lower the cost of change. And that's realistically it, right? Does the system that you're creating for business continuity for your organization lower the risks, lower the cost, and there's a superior solution? And then the other thing you need to do is have employee buy-in, right? And so, like I said, if you create this big system, this big binder that's really difficult to flip through, right, you're not going to have employee buy-in. They're not going to want to open that binder when something occurs. So let's think about superior solutions, right? Defining the problem, right? This is the first step you have to do, and it's obvious, right? Define what that problem is. What is your solution for? So, for instance, with business continuity, right, we're looking at how do we keep this business running during a crisis, right? When you have earthquake, wildland fire, COVID, how do we keep things running in a way? Now, is it conventional ways, or is it something that's more unique to that? And so this is where you have to really get about design. How do you know this? Well, you have to bring in a team, right? When you're looking at this, you should not be inside of a silo. As a matter of fact, next week, I'm going to talk about silo, because we tend to do this. but you don't want to be inside a silo. You want to work with a collaborative relationship with your team to get that user-driven experience to understand what they're looking at and how they see what their role is in emergency management or in business continuity. Lowering the costs and risks, right? That's exactly what we should be doing with business continuity, right? Is we have to identify those risks and come up with a plan to lower the exposure of the organization to the risks. And that's everything that, well, we stand for in that case. And so then lowering the cost. What's the cost benefit analysis of what you are doing? All right. So when you start talking to finance, they understand what they're financing, what they're doing in that process. So lowering that cost of opportunity costs, right? Right. So you have they go, we're insurance, right? And this is like, as I said before, when you look at what we do, we're an insurance policy that you never want to use, but without us, when something occurs, right, it becomes more difficult to keep your business up and running. Now, this is where I'm going to get kind of a little abstract, right? The beauty in the design. Now, my daughter, she's 10 and she plays Minecraft. Now, if you've ever seen Minecraft, it's realistically like computerized Legos, if you will. Little squares that you build structures with, right? And I tried it, right? And I built these like really rudimentary, ugly little square structures, right? And, my daughter sort of pats me on the back and says, "Oh, Dad, that's cute. Look at my stuff." And when she looks at designing her structures, it fits into this village that she's created, and there's purpose behind what she's doing. And then the interior of her structure is just as detailed and it becomes attractive, right? And inside of that, even like her table that she creates with chairs that have function, but have a beauty to it, right? For her little characters that run around, right? And she builds this stuff with a purpose-driven building, but with function, purpose-driven building, and with beauty and design. And so if we think about that when we build something, that's that user interface that we're talking about, is building your programs that are purpose-driven, right? But that are also aesthetically pleasing. And now when I say aesthetically, not necessarily in the way the binder looks and stuff like this, but the usefulness of it, right? Is it the scary looking binder that's full of stuff, or is it something simple that they can digest and use? That's one of the things that why I'm excited at Titan HST, which we do with our app. It's easy to use, but it's aesthetically pleasing, and it's done on purpose because it's the purpose that we have here is to save lives, right? And so to be able to have an app that is easy to use, but also aesthetically pleasing to the eye, and is functional, that's part of what we do. So going back to the Minecraft, right? She can simply just make these little square buildings, right? And her little animals and people can walk around because they don't care, right? They're little computer things. But she makes them look attractive and pleasing for the creatures, these little square creature built, animals and whatnot that's inside of Minecraft to live in, right? And they're aesthetically pleasing, they're functional, right? And they're easy for them to use. And I think when you start looking at things like that, right? If you start looking at the world through that lens of how do we make things that are aesthetically pleasing, right? And how do we make things that are functional at the same time, right? That is when you have that win-win. And that, my friends, is why Apple, I think, leads in the phone design, right? Because, you have Samsung that's doing well, right? But where's BlackBerry? We're kind of gone, right? So at the end of the day, when you're looking at what we're doing with business continuity, right, we need to create something that's not going to be a BlackBerry, but it's more going to be an Apple. Hey everybody, look, I know we're coming in here, especially specifically in California. We have this heat going on. We have fires that are burning, and across the country we have disasters, flooding, Mississippi without water. There's a lot of stuff going on across the country and across the world when it comes to emergency management. I know there's hurricanes brewing as well. Please, everybody, keep this in mind. And I truly, truly, truly mean this. Everybody, please stay safe and stay hydrated.